I quickly started to realize that's not how you're able to scale a business. And if you really want to buy back your time and actually have a life or freedom outside your business, you need to learn how to delegate. So having those systems, having a really clear guideline of what everybody needs to be doing is the only way that you're going to be able to scale, and releasing some of that control if you want to buy back your time.
This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day, carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
So I'm your host, Daniela. I'm Penji's Influencer Coordinator, and today I'm joined here with a very special guest, Ellie. Hi, Ellie. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So to start everything off, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about who you are, what you do, a little bit about, what platforms you're most popular in, and everything that we need to know about you.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really happy to be here. My name is Ellie Hugdahl. I am a content creator. I'm also a business owner. I got started with my business about 2 years ago. And when I started that journey, I really wanted to start sharing it online so that other people could get kind of like the inside view of what it's like to be a business owner. So primarily I post on TikTok, and I post consistently on that platform to share about my business journey, about tips, the highs, but also the lows of being a business owner. So I share a lot on TikTok and I share a lot on Instagram as well.
Interesting. And tell us a little bit more about what business you're currently managing, how it came up, something a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I've always known that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I feel like it was in my blood. When I was like 12 years old, I remember selling little dog treats to my neighbors. And ever since then, I knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I knew that I wanted to have that freedom and that flexibility. And when I was about 15, I got started working as a barista at a little coffee shop in Seattle. And I knew that that was what I wanted to do. And ever since then, that has been the dream, that has been my goal. And about 1.5 years ago, I had the opportunity of purchasing my own coffee shop. So that was my first location in Everett, Washington. And then ever since then, I scaled it. So now I have 2 locations. I have a whole team of employees, and that business really runs by itself. I have all the systems and everything set up. And I've been able to focus on my coaching and my content creation now because that business kind of runs itself.
That's really cool. Wow. And you seem really young. I don't know. Can I ask how old you are?
Yeah, I am 26.
You're 26. Wow. So you're from 1998, right?
Yep, 1998. And I started that. My coffee company is called Unity Coffee. And I started that about 1.5 years ago now.
That's insane because at 26, you already have 2 coffee shops and you're already working on a coaching business. And I think most 26-year-olds are still trying to figure out how to get out of their parents' house,
Yeah, it's definitely been a whirlwind, and I still feel like every day I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just learning as I go. And that's, I think, the thing about being a CEO or an entrepreneur is you just have to figure it out as you go.
So you said that your coffee shops currently run themselves and you can focus a little bit more on coaching. How are you able to sort of streamline that in order for it to just be a business of its own and for you to focus on other projects?
That's a great question. And I think when I started the business about 1.5 years ago, I wanted to control everything because that was my dream. That was my baby. I wanted to be in the shop 12 hours a day, making sure everything was going smoothly. And I quickly started to realize that's not how you're able to scale a business. And if you really want to buy back your time and actually have a life or freedom outside your business, you need to learn how to delegate and you need to put people in the right positions. So having those systems, having a really clear guideline of what everybody needs to be doing is the only way that you're going to be able to scale, and releasing some of that control if you want to buy back your time.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I feel like, with so much going on, there's only so much one person can do, right?
Yeah, I only have hours in the day.
And I feel like when I was in college, I tried to start like a baking business because I like baking, for fun. And my friends really liked my desserts. And so once they were like, why don't you sell them? Like, you should just sell the stuff that you bake. And I was like, you know what? I will. And I started baking a bunch of stuff, and I tried to sell it. And I realized really quickly how overwhelmed I was.
You're like, this isn't fun anymore.
Yeah, it lasted, I would say, about a few months. And it was so hard because I was not even aware of I didn't even know if I was making profits, how much I was making. I couldn't even know how to price my food, because people obviously wanted cheap prices because it was homemade food. But for me, it was so time consuming. And I also had my normal job, on top of that. So I had school, and I felt so just overwhelmed a few months in. I was like, that's it, it's done. This was my hobbies. And it made me really realize how much it goes into how much you need to plan before you actually start something like this. Because I just did it on a whim, and it backfired. It just exploded on my face. Don't remember how many people I had to tell them hey, I'm sorry, I can't give you your cake today, I'm dying.
Yeah, I worked all day.
Yeah. So I really admire the fact that you have been able to have so much, and you've also been able to sort of outsource it to other people. I think outsourcing is a really important thing that a lot of times we don't know how to do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you can buy back your time. I recently just hired a virtual assistant too. So she helps me a lot with my content creation. She does all my video editing. She'll even reach out for podcast features and stuff like that for me. So that also buys back a lot of my time so that I can focus on the things that are really the needle moving activities.
That's great. And you said right now your focus is on coaching and your social media, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is my main focus now, is to help other entrepreneurs, CEOs learn how to scale, grow, and buy back their time so they can actually have a freedom-based business.
So I'm curious, how important has social media been in all of this journey? With the coffee shops, with your coaching, has it played a pivotal role in your growth, or has it been more just a tool that you've sort of had to use? I think we get a lot of we see a lot of business owners who see that there's a growing need for them to have a presence on social media, but they're so lost as to how to do it, especially the older crowd who is not used to this world at all. And we also have other people who I've actually interviewed people who rely on social media a lot, and they see it as a really useful tool. So I'm curious to see which side of the spectrum you've been on.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge for both my coffee company and also as a content creator as well. And in the beginning, it was really just for fun. I didn't really think anything of it, especially when I was posting on my personal. That was really for me to just give back to other people and to help them. Because I remember when I was starting as a business owner, I had no idea what I was doing. I had nobody guiding me. And so I just want to be that person for the younger version of myself and really help and guide them. So personal, that was really just for fun. And then it turned into something else and started growing. And then for my coffee shop, I knew that if we wanted to stand out from our competitors in such a saturated market, because Seattle, there's literally coffee on every single corner. If you want to stand out at all, you need to be different. And so we have focused on our social presence since day one. So being really, really consistent on TikTok, showing our face, showing a personality, and really sharing those values and those brand awareness behind us, not just here's a cup of coffee. So there's really a lot more to it behind that.
Yeah, I mean, a cup of coffee you can get from a 7-Eleven, and it would be the same thing.
Yeah, so why is somebody going to spend $8 on your cup of coffee? What's different about it?
And also, I think with something like that, you're also going up against very established competitors like Starbucks and, these really big companies where people are always going to get their vanilla latte, and they already have orders and stuff, which can be absolutely jarring, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And so that even gives you more reason to show your face, show your personality, show that you're a real person and that you're supporting a dream, supporting a small business, and not just one of those big corporations.
So you're doing a lot, right? Like you have your coffee shops, and you also have your coaching business, and you're also active on social media. Out of all of these things that you're doing, which one would you say is the part of your job that I would say like that you enjoy the most?
I mean, I enjoy every part of my day. And I think I've delegated the parts that I'm either A, not good at, or B, I don't enjoy. And so now my day is really set up that I get to do everything that I really, really enjoy. And some of that is content creation for my coffee company. Some of that is like back end coaching for other CEOs. It's so versatile. And I call myself a multi passionate entrepreneur because I just have so many things going on and I love every single one of them.
That's amazing. Yeah, no. How do you manage to have time for it all in a day? Because I have one job, and I'm always trying to just squeeze in as much as possible in like a working day.
Definitely. It's very organized. So, I mean, I do utilize tools like Google Calendar and time blocking and stuff like that. And I think it's important to note that I didn't start with all these things. I started with one shop, one employee, and then it slowly scaled. And once one thing was really systemized, I moved on to the next. So I didn't like throw everything in at once before this thing was really solid.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about like financially? I think for our listeners, and I think for anybody who wants to start a business, one of the biggest questions that they have and fears is how to keep the finances in check, right? Because it's really easy to sort of start drowning in money especially when once you take on the responsibility of hiring employees, and then you're responsible for this person's salary, and how were you able to navigate all of that?
That's such a good point. I remember when I first bought my shops, having people on W-2s and having to make payroll every 2 weeks was the most stressful thing I've ever felt in my whole life. Because even if your sales aren't there, you still have to hit payroll. And that's just like a whole different level of stress that I've never felt in any other business. And I think really all you can do is like control what you can control, make sure that you're showing up 100%, and then delegate the things that you don't feel comfortable with, like we were talking about. So I delegate my accounting. I use QuickBooks to sort all of my bookkeeping. And I've always been really, really up to date with that for both like my brand deals and the money that's coming in through social media, and also for my coffee shop. So everything is really organized. And it is going to be stressful. Payroll is going to be stressful. You're going to have low days, you're going to have high days, and just pushing through that and not allowing it to affect your mood is definitely a struggle that I still face every single day.
Yeah, because I think, when it comes to like actual finances, it can be really scary. And we've heard so many like horror stories of people trying to start businesses, and then they end up like drowning in debt. And, you just, I think for a lot of people, it can be just like very terrifying. And that's why they're not willing to take those kind of steps, especially when you're getting older and you have children and, stuff like that, where it's like, I can't afford to not have a job.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so making those baby steps, and I always caution people to like, you don't have to quit your job right away in order to start a business. Like you can start it as a little side hustle and keep your W-2 income and slowly build that on the outside. You don't need to like go full force right away.
Yeah. And I don't know if you agree, but I feel like a lot of times working for someone else can give you the benefit of seeing how other people run their own businesses, so that you would get an idea of what to do with your own, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I worked in the coffee industry for 10 years before I started my own, and I was a sponge. I was learning the back end, I was learning how they ran their teams, and I was picking up little bits and pieces from each place that I worked at before I ever thought about opening my own. So that when I did, I had, all this knowledge that I could apply.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's really important. I think a lot of people sort of just want to jump into like the execution part, and preparation is really not taken into account. And I think when you're jumping into something like this, right, it's really important to sort of at least have an idea of what you are doing. I think you would never really know what you're doing, but as far as of what you're doing is yeah. So I wanted to ask, you've obviously had to adapt to a lot of changes in marketing and businesses. You said that you were aware that Seattle has a lot of coffee shops and you needed to find a way to stand out, and that was through social media. Social media is very unstable. There's always like different laws coming in. There's controversies, there's trends, there's music, there's audios, there's all of these things that, it's like new platforms. And then all of a sudden the old platforms that you were used to don't operate the same way that they did before. How are you able to keep up with all of that and, sort of try to organize all of that in your head? I think for a lot of our followers, that can be very overwhelming as well.
Definitely. I remember when I was first starting on social media, I really treated it like a job. And so I have certain days that I really focus on like researching trends, what's working, what's not working, and then adapt those, write them down. I have a Google spreadsheet of everything that is like trending or working right now on my pages, and then really adapting those analytics and applying them for the future. Everything's going to be ever changing, and you're probably not going to know what's going on every single platform. There's a lot of good tools like Social Media Examiner, and then HubSpot is another really good one that I use. So those really help you keep up to date with like the trends, just staying informed. And then also focusing on your analytics is really important. But you're not going to be able to follow your data unless you start posting and figure out what's working. What's working for me might not work for you. So you just have to post to really figure out what's going to work.
You have to fail, right? Like have those like 0 view videos to see how you have to flop
before you're going to know it's going to take off.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think a lot of times people just want to see results from the get. And then I think it's easy for people to get frustrated when they keep seeing patterns of constant failure, especially when it comes to social media and branding. I think a lot of people who have sort of businesses don't really know why. And they're always kind of just lost as to like, what am I doing? Why am I wrong? And what do I need to do in order to see more success for my business, for my platform, for my own growth? So for those people who are kind of like, I guess, stuck in a rut, what would you say to them to try to like get out of that?
There's not like a quick fix, and I don't have a quick answer for you. You just have to keep showing up. When I first started last year, I was posting like 3 times a day to figure out what worked and what didn't work. And just now it's really starting to take off. The views on Unity Coffee are just now hitting. They're just now getting like 100, 200,000 views. But that took a year and a half of posting consistently every single day. That took a lot of videos flopping and a lot of videos, no engagement to figure out what really worked. And now pretty much anything that we post does really well, but that's because the algorithm picked it up. And it took a year and a half. So if you're in those beginning like 3 months, don't expect to see huge views or a lot of engagement or people commenting. And you have to be okay with that. That's normal.
Yeah, I think being okay with that can help people sort of get an idea of what it is. I think we've seen a lot of people get discouraged when, a certain amount of time has passed and there is no results. But I think at least for social media, there is no specific time as to how things are going to go, which is very like unpredictable.
Yeah, you can only control what you can control, and that's just showing up.
Yeah, I mean, at least you're showing up. If you're not showing up and you're just like upset, you're tired.
Rhythm.
Yeah. You didn't even try. Like, I mean, what were you expecting? People to comment on the air?
Exactly. Nobody knows you. They don't care about your business yet. So you have to keep showing up until they do.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And in general, for a lot of things, just like I think we struggle with starting things or continuing to do things because we don't see the immediate results. But I think what you said is really true. It's just like, you just got to keep going and trying and see what sticks.
That's so big in entrepreneurship, is the discipline to keep showing up even when you're not seeing those results.
Yeah, I think so too. I think results in general, at least for us at Penji, we do brand deals with influencers, right? And we value obviously metrics and statistics for a person's, engagement. We care about that. But we also care about how true or how real it is. And success or like a good candidate for us is not necessarily a person who has 1 million subscribers and 10,000 comments per video, because a lot of times the comments are not even people who are engaging. You get a lot of bots. You get a lot of comments that are not even real. You get a lot of fake likes. You have 1 million followers and you have a really low engagement. So I think for us, at the end of the day, what we value is just an engaged audience. And it's going to be more valuable for a company to see you having an engaged audience when you're only maybe at a couple thousand followers, but these couple thousand people really care about what you're doing, because then that's us more sales, right? Because those 2,000 people are really going to be listening than a 1 million people who are never going to see the video that this person posts.
Right. That trust isn't there with that person. So they're not going to buy from them if that trust isn't there.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot. And at least when we are looking for brand deals, when we are looking for influencers, we are looking at that, importance of having that connection with their audience, which I think now that the market of influencing is getting more and more saturated, I mean, every business wants to have a presence online, at least on Instagram. Even if they're not on other platforms, they're always trying to be on one of them, right? Whether it's TikTok or Instagram. And the more that this grows, the more the competition grows as well. And so the more people that you get, and then the more people you get that are just kind of trying to get a bunch of followers, trying to get everything up really quick so that they can sort of be stand out from all of these other people. But at least for us, I work specifically with influencers. When I'm reviewing an influencer, I'm thinking, is this person going to give me any ROI?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's that community aspect that everybody should be focusing on right now, is really showing up for your customers and what they need, not just for yourself and your own virality and views,
Yeah. And I think virality with no purpose can also just, really flop. I've seen people have one viral video and then 100 that don't do well.
Yeah, no, views are really just a metric, and I think focusing on your community is so much bigger, and that will help grow your brand so much further than 1 million views.
Yeah, I think like I said, success doesn't necessarily mean 1 million views per video, right? It doesn't mean that you have to be famous in order for you to be successful. I think there's a lot of ways, and I think at least for us as a brand, that's not what we're looking for specifically. Obviously, a very popular person is going to help us, but that's not the only thing that we're concerned with when we are looking at an influencer.
Right. Yep. That's huge.
And content quality, I think, is really important. I've also seen a lot of people who sort of just prioritize quantity over quality.
Oh, yeah.
To the point where I know that for TikTok, at least, you need to be posting a lot, right? But I think some people are posting so much that they're burning themselves out. And they are also posting a lot of things that are also not their best work. And it really shows, which definitely doesn't help you as a brand, because you want the influencer that's making you a video for a brand deal to do something that's, nice, that you want to watch.
Yeah, you want that person to show up fully for your brand, because that's almost a reflection of your brand if you're choosing that person.
Yeah, which brings me to the idea of taking breaks. I think especially for someone like you who has such a sort of free job, in the sense where you're your own boss, right? You decide what tasks to give yourself. You give yourself your timelines. You give yourself your rules. How do you manage to keep that discipline? Because I think it would be really hard for me, to sort of keep up with all of that. When you work for someone else, the schedules are given to you and you just follow that.
Definitely. In the beginning, I was working every day, and that was when I was first starting my coffee company. I was working every single day because I really didn't have that delegation. And today I'm able to work kind of Monday through Friday. I typically stop around 5 or 6, and then I really try to not schedule any work-related tasks on the weekend. Obviously, there's going to be stuff that comes in when you have employees, when you have businesses running. There's always going to be something you don't get to just clock out, and that's part of being an owner. But at the end of the day, I really don't schedule anything on Saturday or Sundays, and I leave that time for myself, my relationships. Otherwise, you will get burnt out if you don't focus on your life as well.
Yeah, and I think burnout is not good for your business anyways. Like, even if you were like, I just want to focus on my business, but like, you can't do it if you're burnt out.
Well, and people can tell. They can tell if you're feeling burnt out. It reflects into your business.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think they can tell, like, just by the looks of your face. Like, all the interview.
Or like tell if your energy is not there.
Yeah, like, go get some sleep, girl, please.
Exactly. Take a day off.
All right, yeah. Well, Ellie, before we end, I wanted to give you a space for you to tell our followers where they can find you. Is there anything that you're currently working on where they could go help? If anybody needs coaching from you, where could they go find it? You know, your socials. If anybody from Seattle wants to go get coffee at your shops, this floor is yours.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for having me, first of all. I am on all the social medias. My coffee company is called Unity Coffee. We are in Kirkland in Everett, Washington. So if you're in that area, we would love to serve you. And then also my personal coaching spaces are Instagram primarily. It's Ellie Hugdahl, and then Ellie Hugdahl on TikTok as well. I am working on building a CEO community as well right now. So if you want to join that wait list, it's the first link in my bio on Instagram.
Okay, awesome. Then I will be adding all of those links so that people can go in and find you. And that's it for today, guys. We're going to see you on the next episode with our next guest. Thank you, Ellie, for being here. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest, and to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.